Good morning, Ms. Bogden. Good morning, Mr. Hutchinson.
Good morning.
My name is Alan Honner, and I'm a lawyer at the Democracy Fund. Just have a few questions for you. And I apologize, I arrived a little bit late today, and I had to listen to some of your evidence in my car. And so I just want to confirm, at the SSE meetings, the RCMP commissioner and the CSIS director would provide situational updates to ministers such as Minister Blair and Minister Mendicino.
They would have been there, yes. They are members of that committee, yeah.
Yes, and both of you would have been there as well.
Correct.
And the president of the CBSA was in attendance, and so is the NSIA.
For each of the meetings, to be absolutely certain, it would be good just to check the minutes because that's part of what has been disclosed, I think.
But they were sometimes present.
Yeah, you can say that for sure.
And later when the Prime Minister convened the IRG meetings, you were both in attendance.
Correct.
Okay. And Commission Council didn't concentrate on this area for the sake of time, but I understand you both attended cabinet meetings as well.
Not full cabinet, no.
You attended the cabinet meeting on February the 13th, though, did you not?
Oh, yes, sorry. When you, yes, that is correct. Yes, sorry. I was thinking about the normal, regularly scheduled cabinet meetings as opposed to the one we had on.
That's fine. And Mr. Hutchinson, you were there as well, I understand.
I believe so.
And that was the last cabinet meeting before the invocation of the Emergencies Act. Can we please pull up ssm.nsc.can 50/242_REL.0001. So on that day, the day of that last cabinet meeting before the invocation of the Emergencies Act, NSIA Jody Thomas gave a situational update. And what we're looking at right now appears to be remarks that were prepared for her to deliver to cabinet that day. Does that sound right to you?
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Okay, and I won't ask you about everything she said at cabinet because I understand some of that is subject to national security confidentiality, but I want to take you through parts of this document and then just ask you about them. So if we can scroll down just a little bit. So stop there, please. So first of all, we see this notation about Ottawa, and we have a note that the City of Ottawa announced an agreement with protest leader Tamara Leach that could lead to approximately 70% of trucks and cars leaving residential areas in the downtown over the next 24 hours. And it goes on, and then if we look down just a little bit more, if we can scroll down to Windsor, that's great. Before I go on with Ottawa, at this point, NSIA Jody Thomas did not announce, I understand, the fact that the OPP and the OPS and the RCMP had an operational plan that they were about to put into place, right? You don't recall that, do you?
Sorry, can you repeat that question again?
You know what? We'll come back to that. Let's just go back here. So to Windsor, we have an update as of February 13th. Police enforcement action continues with reports of arrests being made and vehicles towed.
Correct.
And we know that later on that night, just past midnight, the bridge was reopened, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and can we scroll down some more, please? A little bit more. More, please. Okay, so Emerson, Manitoba, as of February 13th, the blockade remains north of the POE. If we look down to Coots, all services have been temporarily suspended at Coots, POA, as of 1400 hours Eastern time. And you'll agree with me that arrests happened later on that day, and Coots was actually cleared. We know that now, but you didn't know that then, right?
We didn't know that then, that evening.
Right.
Yes, that's correct.
So we have Coots still going on, we have Emerson going on, and can you scroll down a bit more? A little bit more. So Sarnia, as of February 13th, the Blue Water Bridge remains open in both directions. Fort Erie, Ontario, as of 13th of February, Fort Erie POE is open for commercial and traveler traffic. And if we look down below, Toronto, no major impacts reported from protest activity. And can we scroll down a little bit more, please? Now we see Winnipeg, no major impacts. Fredericton, no major impacts. Cornwall, Ontario, as of 13th February, the Cornwall POE remains open. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, Saskatchewan, no major impacts. Sorry, that's Regina, Saskatchewan. Halifax, no major impacts. Montreal, no major impacts. Scroll down a little bit more, please. We get an update here about the IMVE. I won't go through it for the sake of time. Can we scroll down a little bit more? We get an update here about what's going on internationally, and if you can scroll down a little bit more, we get an update about foreign interference. RRM Canada has not observed any significant indicators of foreign state-linked interference as it relates to the truckers' convoy. Can you remind us what RRM is, please?
I can't remember what RRM stands for. That is, you would find that in the testimony from the Associate Deputy Minister Cindy Termerschwiesen.
Okay, Mr. Hutchinson, do you recall?
I don't know that acronym.
Okay, but they monitor for indicators of foreign state-linked interference.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, I can't explain the acronym, but the description is correct.
If we can scroll down a little bit more, please. A little bit more. CSE, no concerns at this time. Social media analysis, I won't go through it, but let's look at the overall assessment here. And what we see is a remark that the majority of the events have been peaceful. Now, what I want to ask you, based on everything, all the meetings you've attended up until that point, all the briefings you've attended up until that point, do you think this document leaves out anything important other than things that are privileged?
Does it leave out anything important?
Anything important that the government would want to know when deciding whether or not to invoke the Emergencies Act? Does this sort of show a totality of the circumstances across the country?
So I guess first off, I need to say I'm not the author of the document.
Fair enough.
There is a team that pulls this information together to support the National Security and Intelligence Advisor when she would be relying on these talking points.
I'm just asking about what you would know based on all the briefings you've attended
Right.
up until that time.
So, not being able to go through each kind of individual situation, I think I remember where I was on that Sunday night and what I was worried about and the situation that we were seeing. So you referred early in the document to the situation in Windsor at the Ambassador Bridge was being resolved. That is true, and the point of it, the port of entry was being opened, but I think at that point in time we were also concerned about keeping it open and what it would require in order to keep that border point open, given what the country had been through for the last 7 days, right? That situation had existed for almost a full week. So you had no fidelity over whether that situation and the need to keep that open. That weekend, the weekend that we're talking about here, we continued to have other instances of things that were happening across the country. So for example, I can't remember this, and you were scrolling down, the situation at the Pacific Highway. There were large demonstrations in BC at the Pacific Highway. There was a circumstance where, for example, 4 individuals were charged.
Well, let me just stop you for a second. Can we scroll up to where it's going to mention Vancouver here? Just maybe a little bit right there. Okay, so as of February 13th, no delays reported at the Pacific POE by the CBSA.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here, okay, that is there. No delays, okay. But we did have an instance, right, where the RCMP has charged 4 individuals who have broken through an RCMP barricade there. I'm sorry, I made you hit your time.
No, yes, you did.
But it's important because what we're seeing in BC and what we're seeing in Alberta is instances of where law enforcement is, there are an increasing kind of threats, and I think that was something that we were concerned about. So that's there and that's reflected.
Okay, and let me just ask you one last question, just to follow up on what you said. You mentioned the situation in BC, and was that the situation with the truck, which apparently broke through the blockades?
Yeah, it was a military style. That's my recollection. It was a military style vehicle that had tried to break through the blockade.
And I believe that made it into the Section 58 explanation that there was a military style vehicle that broke through the blockades.
That may be, you could verify that.
And you are aware that by military style vehicle, they meant a vehicle that was painted in camouflage?
Yeah, that may be.
Thank you very much. Those are my questions.
With your support, our lawyers will be in Ottawa for the next few weeks, trying to hold our government accountable for its improper declaration of an emergency. To follow our work in the inquiry, visit thedemocracyfund.ca/commission, and please consider making a tax-deductible donation to help contribute to our fight. We thank you so much for your support.